All right, good morning. How's everyone doing this morning? This is NEG, New Era Gardener, and I haven't done it in a while, but I got to clean out a couple of bins, and I want to go over a couple of things. Also, when you're harvesting your bins, um, and kind of talk about something that I kind of hit on yesterday with changing my new bedding. So I got all my tools. I have my brush when I start to clean off the castings off of the castings. I also have my scooper, got my bucket over here, and I have my two sifters. One is a 1/4 inch, one is an 1/8 inch, and it's on a rail, so it sits on top of each other. So, and then it's big enough to sit right on my bucket, and I have my trusty gloves. So let me grab a bin. I'm just going to check the camera, make sure you guys can see inside the bin. All right, so this is my wormery, and this is one of my bins, one of my 16 bins. Now, I don't know if you could see it, but yesterday when I was making my bedding, my new bedding that I'm going to start using as a test, I talked about the big pieces of coconut core that doesn't break down. Even though I sift mine out from a 1/4 inch to a 1/8 inch, here is some dry coconut core, and it's got a lot of biochar in it, and there's worm castings. You can tell the difference, and that's what we get. So that's the reason why I decided to also change my bedding. Now, when I changed my bedding, I'm also still going to use coconut core, but I'm also only using a little as a moisture retainer to kind of hold the moisture as I make it. Still put newspaper and everything in it. So this bin has no date. It's a Jane Doe bin, no date. So I don't know when I did it, when I started it, but looking at the castings, everything looks good. So I'm happy with that. So I'm going to start to harvest this bin with you guys so we can see what we got here. Of course, like I said, the top of it has quite a bit of coconut core, dry coconut core. No worms up here at the top. I'm not seeing any, but nice castings. So I'm just scraping off the top where all the big pieces of coconut core are. And I'm going to sift that. And there's nothing in there. There's no worms. It's just the coconut core and big pieces of biochar go through. I'm going to sift this. I'm gonna take this bin down for a second just to show you. Now, if you could see that, you can see all the big pieces of coconut core. Okay? And that's my finished product. But you can see the castings in there. I don't want that in my castings that I'm actually selling to someone. So, this first particular bit that I took out, I'm not gonna put it in. But I'm also gonna show you something else that I started to do. Gonna empty these out. Give me a second. But besides all that, those are beautiful castings. Alright, so I'm going to get back to it. And the thing is, there's still going to be a lot of those pieces throughout. Those were just the dry ones on top. I mean, these castings look beautiful. I mean, look at those castings. Nice, dark, rich castings. Good moisture, perfect. Couldn't ask for better looking product. I'm very happy with that. And just to show you sifting it, I'm gonna take this down again. I'm gonna put my sifter up top here, and hopefully you guys can see that. It just slides, and then we have our worms in there and biochar. And then this is what we're left with. And this also has the coconut core pieces that are too big. As you see, when I sift this, we're left with biochar, coconut core, and the worms. So, and my gold in the end, I mean, that looks good. My goal in the end is to get it even finer. And give me 1 second. This is what I've been using, a sift, and it's a whole lot finer. So I'm going to, it's going to be time consuming. If I could find this particular screen, this is what I want in the end. Those are pretty much pure castings. Castings are very small. They're gonna go through that. I mean, it's all in there. And I'm just gonna continue sifting this. And I'm just gonna show you. I mean, I just did this little bit, but this is also coconut core. Okay, bigger pieces of coconut core, castings, and then also biochar. So what I'm going for is a much finer consistency of worm castings. Is that time consuming? Yes, it's going to be very time consuming. but I'm trying to find a screen that I can purchase so I can make sift, so I can sift it that way. You can do more at one time. It's gonna take me forever to do that. I'm just a particular person. I want to give the best product that I can. It works great. It's still full of a lot of nutrients, but I just like this finer consistency I bet you if I let this dry out, it'll be a lot of coconut coir that is still in there. Is the coconut coir good for your gardening, for your plants? Yes, it's still good. Everything is fine. There's nothing wrong with that, because of the fact that it's been in the castings with the worms, so it's actually going to also make up. It also sucked up a lot of the nutrients. So it's nutrient and based, with a lot of nutrients in it. So there's nothing wrong with it. I just always take it to the next level. That's just me. Here's a quarter of a bag of some castings that I did using that sifter. So much finer. I mean, beautiful. And that's getting a lot of castings. That's beautiful. I like that. I will offer it on my page on eBay, but I can kind of now say that those are worm castings, not worm casting compost, because you're getting more of just the castings, taking out all the other, I hate to say it, fillers. So I add my castings, compost, to my beds, to my plants, and they do extremely well. They're bigger, they're phenomenal. Great growth, great health. I find that I don't have a big problem with bugs. So doing it this way is just the same. But that's just me. I like to take everything to the next level. So that's just sifting the worms out. Still have quite a bit of compost to go through. So we're just gonna continue. But this bin, definitely good moisture. Very happy with that. This bin, I would say, still went to 3 months or even 4 months, because like I said, I didn't put a date on it. So I'm not sure. But however you clean out your bin, whether you keep everything big, that's fine. If you just use a 1/4 inch screen and sift your, let me give you a picture of the worms. Worms look good. A lot of worms there. So I'm happy with the worms. I'm happy with this particular bin. Everything looks good. This bin did have a lot of biochar. And that's because sometimes what happens is when you're doing your bin, and if you let your bin go as long as I do, and you have enough worms in there, a lot of time, as long as you don't put junk into your bin, you don't get junk out. And so sometimes what happens is I don't separate. I just separate the worm castings from the biochar. Sometimes I don't take the worms and separate them from what's left over. So sometimes a lot of worms in there. They were hanging out the bottom. I guess that's what they were going for, the moisture. It's a better moisture content on the bottom. So I think that's where they were hanging out, because the deeper I get, the more worms I get. So this bin does have a good populations of worms in it. A lot of the worms are crawling off of the off of my little bed I use to put what's left after I clean it off. A lot of worms are moving around and sliding off. So a lot of worms there. So this is going to be the test bin. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. A lot of worms. We got probably about 10 worms on the floor. Trying not to step on them. And plenty of worms. Plenty of worms. It's a good population. So I'm not concerned about that. But So once again, like I said, this particular bin is going to be the new test bin that I'm going to use the new bedding. So I'm going to grab a bucket of the new bedding that I'm actually going to put in. Got a bucket full, and we're just going to put it in. Actually, I made one bucket. Made a bucket this morning because I do have 2 bins to do, and honestly, that's works out good. It's probably about a 1/2 inch lower than my line, which is 6 inches. So that's what I like to have it as, 6 inches. So that's what we like to have in our bins, and that's pretty much where the worms are going to go to. That's going to be the deepest they're going to want to go. So that's what you want to keep it at. I mean, these castings, a couple of worms in there. I mean, these castings are beautiful. I'm happy with those castings. Those castings look good. Like I said, I can leave them at that. But I think I am going to go for getting the castings out of it. And I'm going to start to sift it through that sifter and still offer both of my castings. The regular castings, compost. It's been composted down with your bedding, and still has quite a bit of coconut coir in it. And then the rest I'm going to sift through, and that's going to be a product that I'm going to offer. You know, a little more fine, which I would say that it's more castings, pure castings, and we'll go from there. But this is the test bin, and we're going to see how this bin does, and I'll bring you guys back in probably about a week, see how the worms are loving it, see how it's doing, and kind of go from there. All right, once again, this is New Era Gardener, NEG, and I just harvested one of my bins to use as a test bin for the new bedding, which is newspaper, a little bit of coconut coir, and alpaca manure. And we're gonna follow this bin so we can see what happens, how fast it takes them, how they react to it. Does it heat up? Does it not heat up? What does the pH stay at? And the moisture level. That's the biggest concern I have, is the moisture level. But right now, we're going, I'm gonna have to separate these worms from the rest of the matter and put them back in here pretty soon. So we're gonna end this video. If you have any comments, any questions, please leave them. And if you like my content, if you find my content helpful, hit that like button and also subscribe so you can see what I'm doing when I'm posting a video. I would appreciate it. Once again, NEG. Enjoy the rest of your day. Keep them worms happy. All right.